the music of JSB, and we just heard a sinfonietta from one of his cantatas, an early cantata, BWV 35, and that follows on from another movement from that same cantata we played last night. And we heard the first sinfonietta. It's got two sort of bridging instrumental numbers in this cantata, and scholars think that they may be the remnants of a lost concerto of Bach. So a little bit of detective work there. Fantastic music. I just love it. The music of JSB transports this listener, and I know others as well. And we say a warm hello to Frank, who I know is recuperating. And wish you well there, Frank, with the,
And I wish you well as well, Frank.
Oh, hello there. Hello there, Frank. OP, nice to hear from you. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Just RXing you on the the attempt at the new 160 antenna, and it's a little better, but we're not quite there yet.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, fabulous. That's great. That's the lupus, is that right?
No, this is the helical, the big, tall 10-metre thing.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Well done. Oh,
well. It's just up, and it's tuning issues. So
yes.
But I'm just sort of seeing what it receives like, and I think it's receiving you a bit better than the loop, the active loop.
Okay, sure.
It's still not as strong as I would like, but anyway.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Well, look, there is a fair bit of horizontal polarisation on my signal, I have to say. It's just the nature of the beast with an inverted L. But it's so that may be affecting things. But
I'm also not getting the cue point that I'd like as yet.
Yeah,
anyway,
sure.
Keep plugging away.
Oh, look, I understand. That's fine. So you're picking me up okay on UHF? Is that?
Yeah, UHF's fine.
Oh, terrific.
So
good.
It's just it's more that I was hoping to get 160 AM to a better degree. And
it'll happen.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's
in increments.
It's interestingly, even though it's not a strong signal, and it's a little noisier on the big box here, which is sort of a hybrid SDR type thing.
Yes.
It actually sounds better in wider FM, AM than narrow. As in,
right.
The recovered audio is somewhat better and I think more readable, which is interesting because normally on a marginal signal, narrow tends to help.
Yes, yes, it does.
In this case, not.
Okay, interesting. Oh well, maybe it's partly to do with the equalisation pattern. I've got a clipper in line and so I'm sort of, and an asymmetric modulation as well. So we're doing everything we can to sort of boost.
Yes, I've read a little bit about asymmetry and modulation. It's an interesting idea.
Yes, you can sort of give the positive peaks a bit of an extra oomph, another 25%, and make the most of the restrictions I have with a 100 watt carrier, but get a little bit more power out of the system. But anyhow, I was thinking of you the other day because I have been watching a few of the Spicks and Specs episodes.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
You enjoying them?
Oh, look, I think they're fantastic. It's great. Yeah, really fun.
I think it's the last one of this new series goes to air tomorrow night.
I think it does. That's it. So I've watched a few of them so far. I've been watching it with my daughters. They're sort of into the retro stuff, so it's nice for them to hear. And Olivia was pleasantly surprised. She thought this was just old fart stuff, and then she watched it and thought, wow, this has got a really good feel to it. So I'm pleased that it got the proverbial nod from her.
It's hitting a sort of a newer, younger generation. And,
and
I mean, obviously someone who's got a musical education, which I think helps, but
I think so. It's just the vibe, it has got a youthful vibe, although everyone's sort of, the main players are all getting on a bit, but still, it's good. And I like the pace and the energy. It's a credit to the editors to create that sort of charge that prevails. I mean, I was watching closely. I suppose I'm thinking of things a little bit more from a technical standpoint, knowing that you were behind one of the cameras there. And but I suppose a lot happens on the editing floor.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, and these are now like commercial hours, you know, as opposed to the original stuff was down at the commercial half-hour level.
Yes.
And we're recording. Some nights we're recording 3 and 4 hours to get that hour. There's a lot that hits the floor, but the producer Anthony's well aware of that, and he does that deliberately to allow. I'm just going to turn. That'll stop the ringing. There's a bit of ringing coming from the AM side.
That's fine.
He does that deliberately so that he gets a really good swath of stuff to play with in terms of the stories, because they realise that when an artist is giving you an anecdote about something that's happened to them on tour or recording or whatever it be.
Sure.
Sometimes those stories can be quite elongated, and of course there's lots of interjection, and so he's prepared to let that run for a fair amount of time to get the really good stuff.
Yeah,
and then we'll trim it up later. And there are times when you can really see the trimming, and it's like, okay, sometimes it's a little harsh, but
well, sometimes it's inevitable. You've got to truncate, and you've got to keep the show in balance, I suppose. And sometimes there's a really great vibe, and I sort of think to myself, I wish this vibe could continue. Then you cut to it has to cut to another segment,
and it's that, exactly. The big bad clock is ticking, and we've got to be off air at this time, sort of thing. So
they should put up the unedited version up on some of the platforms.
Look, over the years there would have been some fabulous bits.
There must be some hilarious stuff that's got on behind the scenes. Yeah, but it has got a party vibe to it, and it's nice to see the old players. It's one of the very few things I ever watched on free to air, and it's nice to revisit it. So, so which camera are you behind?
I was looking at Alan's team close-ups. So,
okay, right.
And all sorts of other stuff during the game. Because the cameras repo quite heavily for the games and the musical coverage.
So how does that work? You get primarily one camera angle, that's your domain sort of thing?
Or specific role. Yeah,
right.
So I'm hunting close-ups on panel response.
Yes.
So, if someone chimes in, and if I'm not on air with someone, then I'm free to hunt and grab the next one. And if I am on air, then the moment I'm cut away from, I'm bang looking for the person who's now going.
So do they forewarn you through your headphones or through?
I know. Look, I have a tally light, so I know when I'm on air. I also have return viewfinder, so I can see what's going to air if I have enough time to check it, depending on what's going on.
Yeah.
And plus, you're hearing talk back about the director saying, I'll cut away from you, repo, whatever.
Okay.
And then you go to specific games or musical acts, and we all move around to cover specific aspects of that, depending on how the form of it and all of that sort of stuff. So.
Okay, I can understand. Do they have people on camera walking around at any time, or are they all positioned cameras?
Oh no, they're while we're on panel coverage, it's fairly static.
Yes.
But you'll see on the band numbers there's quite a lot of camera movement as in tracking.
Yes.
The cameras are all the operated cameras are what are called pedestals.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a three-wheeled device.
Yes.
With a steering ring.
So someone's pushing from behind or directing you?
The camera operator.
Okay.
Actually pushes the camera, elevates and de-elevates it, focus, zoom, all at once.
I see. My goodness. So you have to do all of that yourself.
And the pedestal has a column that's...
wow.
We charge ours with nitrogen gas.
Okay.
To balance the weight of the camera payload.
Oh, I see.
So when they're up at full height, which puts the lens probably up at around, say, 2 metres in the air.
Yes.
They'll sit there, and then you can de-elevate them down to where they might be only a half a metre or 75 centimetres off the deck.
Okay.
And they'll stay down there or at any position in between.
Right.
So the gas balances the weight, and there's the ability to trim that, and then you can steer and track, and they're quite heavy. The old pedestals on their own without anything else weigh 180 kilos.
Do they really?
And the new ones are about 150 something.
Wow.
So that gives you that nice inertia and that smooth rolling.
Yes, that resignation to gravity.
Yep.
Which means everything.
Once they're at moving, they want to keep moving, and when they're at rest, they want to stay at rest.
Yes, that's right. It's like the like spinning the dial of a weighted wireless dial on a vintage radio.
Gone through half the spectrum before it stops.
Yes, that's right. Oh, fantastic. Oh well, it's great to see, and I'll certainly watch all the others and and connect with it because I think we all sort of remember what we were doing at different phases of that program, and it brought back all sorts of memories. I had friends who played on it at different times, and I think I mentioned Kate had an association with Adam Hills' wife now.
Oh, yes.
Years ago, back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Well, burlesque days?
Yes, or even before that when she was, really young. She used to be in a vocal group with Kate.
Okay. So, she's got because there's a very early episode, and I think it's the episode where she came on first and performed, and kind of where they first met.
Oh, okay, right.
And she did a version of Creep.
Okay. I'll have to look that one up.
It's quite a nice vocal performance. It'd be fairly early, sort of probably, I don't know, season 2 or 3 maybe.
Okay, I'll look that up. I was looking up her bio, and she does mention that she's been on the show.
Yeah.
So I will have to check
how they met.
Oh, how about that? That's amazing. Yeah. Oh, very good.
Well, Ellie, she's good. And plus, all of the burlesque stuff and
yes,
and
that
obviously some comedic stuff as well.
Yeah, amazing family. Yeah, incredible. Yeah. Anyhow, so that's been great. So we look forward to a Jeff Beck special at some point.
Yeah, I'd have to send them through. This week's kind of got away a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine. There's no hurry at all.
Went and saw on Wednesday with a friend of mine from Falls, an instructor that I know who's very into David Bowie.
Yes.
We went to IMAX and saw Moonage Daydream.
Yes, that's what Olivia and Kate saw it. They saw it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
They said it was great.
And again, I'd never call myself a hardcore Bowie fan.
Yeah.
But I always admired his work and what he did as an artist. And it was a real insight. I really enjoyed it because they used the director was very clever in that they used his own words to narrate it.
That's right. That's what Olivia said.
Yeah, it's all edited, so from interviews and various grabs and put together, and essentially he's used it to narrate his own life. And
incredible!
And so you get a real insight into his mindset and where
apparently
he was.
The continuity was really good. Apparently it flowed beautifully.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it was good. I mean, the thing at IMAX, the audio system in there is incredible. So it was like,
yes,
wow,
larger than life, the full immersion. Oh, it sounds good. I'll have to drag Olivia in one time, or she's out tonight, but another time, and just sort of set her up because I think she'd love to talk about it with you. She really found it very meaningful. It sort of was a great connection point for her because she does like the music of Bowie. Well, she's discovered it as a teenager, and it's a retro thing. But Bowie is sort of a rather important.
Yeah, well, it was one of those serendipitous things. I saw it come up in one of the social media feeds while I was up at Falls.
Yes.
And I quickly texted this person because I know she's a huge Bowie fan. Mm-hmm. And I said, you aware of this? She said, no. I said, look, it's going to be playing in Melbourne. And she said, I'll be in Melbourne at blah, blah, blah. I said, well, there's a couple of dates that overlap there, and we worked it out. And she said,
brilliant.
Can you get tickets? I said, yeah, I'll organise that. So
tremendous. I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, sounds
very interesting.
Sounds great. Oh, there should be more of that sort of thing. I really like the idea of any type of documentary being compiled with the words of the person, or any bio being sort of compiled through the words and actions of an individual, rather than the third person all the time telling you the story.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think if it can be done, if there's enough footage to sort of make that work, then it's I think it's far more
apparently
authentic.
A lot of this footage is all from interviews that have been to air and seen, but it's just the way they're put together, and that takes you through various stages of his life. Yeah. Probably the most unfortunate that I would have loved to have seen is if there had to be more material of him speaking at the very late end of his life when he was confronted with, what was going on for him.
Sure.
And I don't know that he did very much interview at that point, so there probably isn't material, which is a great shame because it would have been really interesting for him to hear his thoughts about his own
mortality.
Life. I mean, he certainly talked about his happiness and that he was, pleased with what he'd done as an artist.
Sure.
But it would just be interesting, given that he had the foresight to record 2 albums worth of materials.
That's right, exactly.
To release posthumously.
Yeah, well, that in itself is quite a maverick undertaking, especially if you know your time's limited. But or maybe he was very deliberate about not saying anything because he let the music speak for itself. I suppose that was his.
Yeah, very true.
But interesting. Yeah. Oh, look, it's it sounds great. Well, any time at all. Just let me know. Send me a list, and we'll line up the Jeff Beck special, and we can run with that. I should be around next weekend. Now, look, every weekend I'm around mostly, and I usually know what the game plan is by Friday, and we can be spontaneous if it suits you. And
I'll flick it through this week.
Okay.
A few things happened this week.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But at your leisure.
I realised,
sure.
I was out yesterday, and then today even I just got the antenna up in time, and I've been tweaking a little bit, but I go, it's not quite close yet. Okay.
Well, you'll get that cue point right, and it'll. I'm sure it'll all come to life. It's a very narrow situation here with finding that Goldilocks zone. It's not necessarily that easy sometimes to have all of the especially at this point in time with the ground so wet after all the rain we've been having. It's certainly changed the whole...
the amount of water that's come down has been astonishing.
It has, absolutely. Yeah, so I was out your way a bit today. I was out at Craigieburn briefly this afternoon.
Oh, that's quite a bit further west.
It's a bit further, it is actually, yeah. And I had to, another moment of madness. I've got this thing that I want to create a device to play cylinder records. I've got hundreds of cylinders, but I've got no really easy way to play them. And I've got sitting next to me here an old Edison machine with a wind-up motor and a microphone stuffed down the horn, or down the throat of the reproducer, which is hardly ideal. But I'd love to reproduce them electrically and sort of just use them a bit more because they're an interesting technology. And so I saw on Facebook Marketplace, no, I don't use Facebook, but I use the Marketplace occasionally when I'm looking for something. And I saw there was a base plate and mandrel from a home phonograph in that area, and very cheap. So I thought, I'll just run out and get it, and I did that. But it's going to be project number 4,892. So we'll have to I'll try and make it happen. I need to get a.
So is the idea that you'll run that on the cylinder?
Yeah, I'd like to just sort of use a stepper motor, a little DC motor with a Arduino board and get the speed right, and just have a simple coupling arrangement and use a long tone arm and just play the cylinders that way. But you need very good speed and you need good bearings, and I'm going to have to replace the bearings in this thing. But the mandrels, which is the thing that the cylinder fits on, they're really hard to make, and unless you've got someone who's a wood turner and can get it exactly centered.
Yep.
It's much easier to use an old machine, an existing machine, and just sort of repurpose it. So that was the game plan with this. So look, it'll do what it needs to do, but it's just another bit of an impulse, but eventually it'll allow me to do that, I suppose. So I've got a short missions tonight because I'm going out shortly and going out to see a movie, and I'm not even sure what it is. I think Kate's booked something for this evening, so we're heading out. I think it's a wedding anniversary or something, so we'll be doing that, and and then back again tomorrow. So I might play a couple of 78s, just a couple of records. And
very good. Well, I'll leave you to it. I'm just interested, what were your thoughts on when you last week played Nessun Dorma?
It was great. I loved it. So good to hear.
Yeah, a bit of an orchestral backing.
That was good though. I like it.
But I thought you'd enjoy it.
Epic, absolutely epic. I love it. Yeah, great expansive playing. I mean, really, it's fantastic. I love hearing different styles sort of introduced within. This cross-pollination thing is always an exciting possibility, and
he did it really well too. In that there's maybe an idea for a bit of another show is doing because there are a few artists, like I think I've pointed you at, Luca Stricagnoli, the Italian guitarist.
Yes,
plays on sometimes multiple guitars, but. He does a lot of covers, and there are various others around, and I thought maybe that'd be, you play the original and then a cover.
That would be great fun, actually.
Just as the juxtaposition of the original, and
totally.
He's a classical artist's take on it on this instrument, or whoever.
Look, they used to do that sort of thing all the time, and even last night I was doing a late night program on some of Bach's music and how he repurposed his music and reinvented it, and a lot of Bach's music's lost, sadly. But
really?
But about a third of it is. But the thing is that a number of his lost concertos, a lot of his concertos are gone, but he used the movements as sinfonias in his cantatas, and a lot of his cantatas survive. About 2/3 of them survive. So a lot of the concertos can be sort of reconstructed by just extracting those movements
from the cantatas.
Exactly. Just rescoring them.
Looking at the common themes. And
that's it. So, and so he was doing it all the time back then. I mean, he was using music in a whole variety of ways and reconstituting it. But
I know there's certain people that consider him to be the original jazz musician.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. He's used some syncopation and interesting, excursions and harmony, and using, even temperament and key changes. I mean, Bach's sort of the father of it all, really. So I think he'd approve of, Jacques Lussier and all the jazz Bach players. I think it's an interesting one, actually. Yay! So, that's good. We'll look forward to some more. some Jeff Beck and other things, and just keep the ideas.
Continue with your 78, and I'll go into listen mode. I'm going to go get a little bite to eat because I haven't had lunch.
Okay, yes, not a bad idea. Have something to eat.
We'll make safe out there, and then see what we do about this cue point.
Yeah. Well, good luck with it. I wish you well. Yeah, well, keep in touch, and always welcome to chime in anytime, and we'll run that program whenever you're ready. So, yeah. Alrighty. Thanks, Frank. Well, cheers for that. And vk3sl testing on 160 and on UHF. We got a slightly happier scenario with UHF at the moment, simply because we've pulled the limiter out of the line. It was doing all sorts of terrible things, and now I think with one less bit of signal processing, it's probably standing up a bit better than what it was. Now, here we go, the Oriole Orchestra with Eccentric Rag. This track goes back to 1924. It's just a bit weird and wonderful. It's on an old Brunswick, and yeah, it's on the list. There we have the Eccentric Rag of the Oriole Orchestra from 1924. Now, it was written by the ODJB pianist Russell Robinson. ODJB, the original Dixieland jazz band. And, it just features a nice group of sort of pre-jazz, proto-jazz, I think that's what they call it, syncopated music. And it was Ted and Russo and Fiorito's Oriole Orchestra. Dan Russo, that's it, and Ted Fiorito, I think something like that. Anyhow, that was on an old Brunswick 78, and we're testing here on 160 and on UHF, and I was going to try and play a cylinder. So cylinders and reconstituting cylinders is a theme. It's one of my projects for the year. I'm going to try and get that done. You may have heard me speak with Frank before about finding a way forward with this old mandrel from a home phonograph. I'm hoping to use a little DC motor and try and make it as simple as possible, but if I can get the thing spinning evenly, and a number of people online have done this quite successfully using old machines, so I'll be looking closely at what others have done and trying to find the most expedient and yet resourceful way forward. So that being the case, I can enjoy some cylinders. But next to me here, I do have the Edison Standard Model D phonograph from 1906, just right next to me here. And as I said, I've got a microphone, a little lapel microphone shoved down the throat, and I try to re-equalize the best I can. It sounds pretty bad, but, it's the best I can do for the moment. And this might sort of just keep the subject alive. So what I can do is wind her up, and we've got a Amberol disc here. I think it's Joe Belmont, who was a whistler. What's it say? An Afternoon in June. Billy Murray and Joe Belmont. It's about 1910, a bit later, 12, something like that. And it's on an Edison cylinder. So we'll put this on, have a listen to this Amberol from way back when. Excuse the long lead in. Maybe I can lift up and replace this. There we go. In the groove. Not easy to cue these cylinders. There we go. A few more winds. That'll do it.
While strolling out one afternoon in June, birds were singing everywhere. I met a curly-headed little coon with legs and the brown feet bare. He whistled to a bird and then he listened to the whippoorwill's refrain. And the music that I heard from the little boy and bird, I would like to hear again. The serenade that afternoon in June came from woodland, vale, and hill. The wild birds answered when they heard the tune with warbling chirps and trills. The birds that crow and catbird came to listen with friends from o'er the plain. For the darky's melody pleased the birds the same as me, singing sweetly this ring.
There we have it, folks. That was an Edison Amberol cylinder going back to about 1912 thereabouts, featuring Joe Belmont, who's the as the whistler on that record, and Billy Murray was the vocalist. You have to excuse the racist lyrics. It is a product of its times. But yeah, lots of cylinders here at my folks' place. In vault number 2, there are boxes and boxes and boxes of cylinders, and I'd like to play them. So yeah, there's a game plan to eventually bring all that to the fore and indulge. I've even got some really weird, interesting German cylinders that came from the Barossa Valley, and I think they're pretty much one-offs. And there are some which I think go back to the 1890s. So there's quite a variety of material to be explored in that genre. And these are recordings I picked up when I was very young. I really haven't actively collected 78s since I was in my late teens, early 20s. But as a younger person, it was a force of nature. I just was out there getting everything I could, and people were very kindly donating collections to my cause, and I'm happy at this point in life to be playing them, enjoying them. So yeah, that's the story. That's the mythology. It's all mythology. We will have our own stories. Now, I just pulled a couple of randoms off the shelf. I've got to be mindful of time. I've got to wind up in about 10 minutes. Not long. Here we go. This is an old Parlophone 78 Oakland Dance Orchestra. No dear eye about this group, but the title jumped out at me. It's called "Oh Sarah, Won't You Please Pull Down the Blind." Well, and it's got a xylophone solo. So xylophones reproduce very nicely on these early records, and I don't think I've even got my my noise reduction system in check. I don't think so. So what I'll do is I'll switch a couple of things around here, and we'll just go barefoot. This is mid-1920s fare. I'm not sure if it's acoustic or electric, but it is a Parlophone 78, and it's on the table. And we'll hear, whoa, I have to start this properly. We'll hear the story of Sarah when it gets up to speed. Conditions bad. have the Oakland Dance Orchestra on a very well-worn record. That record has seen better days. It's thoroughly steeled. It has been played with steel needles, and unfortunately, someone probably did not change the needle, and it just got so blunt that it just basically gouged the record in terrible condition. What a pity. But, you know, sometimes there's a way forward with this sort of thing. It doesn't look that bad to the naked eye, but I think sometimes you can get a Stardust profile, especially the truncated ellipticals, and you can get right down in the groove and get below the noise pattern, and it can be surprising how good a very well-worn record can sound. All sorts of tricks. Another one is to play the record backwards, because the wear patterns tend to happen concentrically, and then if you play it backwards, well, its wear pattern is not necessarily as bad. Interesting thought. One side of the groove might be better than the other, so you can use stereo and phasing. All sorts of tricks of the trade, but yeah, we got the xylophone solo and we got the gist of it, but we didn't get a vocal chorus. I was waiting, because often the vocal chorus on these 20s hits doesn't sort of kick in to the very end of the record, but yeah, we didn't get it at all then. I heard the discussion about the origins of this whole business of vocals on records, particularly dance band music, and apparently there was a reluctance to even have vocalists on. Apparently, this is the story, and then only reluctantly did band leaders introduce vocalists into their fray, because that's what the sheet music peddlers wanted. So the story goes, and reluctantly they'd only put them in the last chorus. So very often on these 20s records you hear that the vocal chorus doesn't kick in until about 2/3 of the way through the record. So here we go. That's another myth. Now, I'm going to have to wind it, folks. I'm going out tonight. Should be back tomorrow, and we look forward to your company then. I don't think there's anything on tomorrow afternoon, so we'll be able to have a full-blooded missions. Hoping Mr. JR is okay, and my very best wishes to you, Frank. And it was great to catch up with Frank OP as well. So we'll finish off with Paul Robeson. I heard an interesting interview discussing Paul Robeson on the radio the other night, and here we have Paul Robeson singing the music of Duke Ellington, Mood Indigo. This will be good. So, in fact, I might play both sides of this. I think I've got time to do that, but I won't announce anything. I'll just do a flip-o-matic in between two sides of a 1930s HMV record. Mood Indigo and then Solitude. Paul Robeson. Bass, it says, in English with orchestra. I'm vk3sl. Thank you for listening through to this point, and we look forward to your company next time.
Since my honey said goodbye, in the evening when lights are low, I'm so lonesome I could cry, 'cause there's nobody who cares about me. I'm just a soul who's bluer than blue can be. When I get that mood indigo, you ain't been blue till you've had that mood indigo, that feeling goes stealing down to my shoes while I sit and sigh. Oh, long blues. In my solitude, you haunt me with reveries of days gone by. In my solitude, you taunt me with memories that never die. I sit in my chair, I'm filled with despair. There's no one could be so sad. With gloom everywhere, I sit and I stare. I know that I'll soon go mad. In my solitude, I'm praying, dear Lord above, send back my love. In my solitude, you taunt me with memories that never die. I sit in my chair, I'm filled with despair. There's no one could be so sad. With gloom everywhere, I sit and I stare. I know that I'll soon